So very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, our program that brings you all the latest news and events happening inside the Black Continent. My name is Angie Meher and I'll be joining you, and we begin straight away with a look at some of the news making the headlines, beginning of course with the recent developments in Sudan. The head of the political committee at the ruling Sudanese Transitional Military Council, Yasser Al-Attah, praised Egypt's role in solving the Sudanese political turmoil. We have more details on this development and this report, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Head of the political committee at the ruling Sudanese Transitional Military Council, Yasser Al-Attah, praised Egypt's role in solving the Sudanese political turmoil. He said that Egypt has played a significant role along history, not only in Sudan, but in the Arab and Islamic world and Africa, adding that Egypt has participated in bringing stability and security to Sudan. Attah said that Sudan is working on an integrated economic project to reconstruct the nation, with the Sudanese experts in consultation with economists in the Arab and African European countries. Head of the African Union Commission, Mustafa Faqih, praised some African and Arab countries' efforts to solve the Sudanese turmoil, saying military and civilian leaders exerted a great effort to reach a transition agreement in Sudan. The African Union has recognized the challenges and hence has taken decisions to help reach an agreement in Sudan. On August 18th, the Sudanese Transition Military Council and the Forces of Freedom and Change Alliance signed an agreement to pave the way for civilian rule. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that Egypt will always support the Sudanese brothers, stressing that the coming period will witness an unprecedented enhancement at all levels of cooperation between the two countries. The FFC alliance had previously called for the end of the ousted President Omar al-Bashir's regime. The main opposition alliance and the ruling Transitional Military Council (TMC) have initiated the draft of Sudan's constitution declaration on August 4th. Since the ouster of former President Bashir on April 11, 2019, the Interior Military Council has ruled the country, saying that its rule could last for 2 years until a new democratic government will be elected.
The Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo province of South Kivu has recorded its first confirmed cases of Ebola in the country's year-old epidemic, one of which was a fatality. More details in this report.
Ebola virus outbreak spreads, claiming first victims in a new region of Congo. The Eastern Dr. Congo province of South Kivu has recorded its first confirmed cases of Ebola in the country's year-old epidemic, one of which was a fatality. 2 cases which tested positive for Ebola were confirmed overnight in South Kivu in the district of Luwindi in the Mwenga region. A 26-year-old victim died. Children who tested positive is still alive and being treated. More than 1,900 people have died from Ebola in the Congo since August 1st, 2018, when the hemorrhagic virus erupted in North Kivu province and spread to the neighboring provinces. The Ebola virus causes fever, vomiting, and severe diarrhea, often followed by kidney and liver failure, internal and external bleeding. The disease is spread by contact with infected bodily fluids and is fought with time-honored but laborious techniques of tracing contacts and quantifiering them. The outbreak is the 10th since Ebola was identified in 1976. It is the deadliest on record after more than 11,000 people were killed in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia between 2014 and 2016. The current outbreak was declared a global health emergency by the World Health Organization in July after it spread to Goma, a city of about 2 million people in Congo.
3 Nigerian soldiers were killed during a gun battle with insurgents in a village on the outskirts of Borno state capital. More details to follow.
Boko Haram attacks Nigerian military base near Madagario. 3 Nigerian soldiers were killed during a gun battle with insurgents in a village on the outskirts of Borno state capital. Militants believed to be from Daesh West African province faction of Boko Haram attacked a military location in Malawi village near Mamanti, around 5 kilometers south of Madagario. Boko Haram split into two factions in mid-2016. Both factions are active in the region south of Maiduguri. In late July, Daesh claimed that killing of 25 Nigerian troops in Jaifo, farmers also killed by Boko Haram militants as they worked near Mulai, and more recently the same factions was likely responsible for an attack on the IDP camp in Delori on July 25th. The terrorist group known as Boko Haram began its bloody insurgency in northeastern Nigeria in 2009, but it has since spread into neighboring Niger, Chad and Cameroon. Promoting a regional military response, more than 27,000 people have been killed and 2 million others displaced, sparking a dire humanitarian crisis in the region.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm now delighted to be joined over the telephone by Her Excellency Ambassador Suaid Shalabi, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister, as well as Egypt's ambassador, former ambassador to Sudan. A very good afternoon to you, Madam Ambassador.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ambassador Suaid. Now, Saturday witnessed a historic development in the current political arena in Sudan as the constitutional declaration was signed, and of course a very celebratory mood in Sudan. How important was this agreement that was reached and the signing of the constitutional declaration?
Well, as you know, that Sudan has been in a state of instability for the past 3 months, and there had been a lot of violence, and there had been an urge for a democratic process to start, and this has been culminated in the constitutional arrangements that had been signed. And mostly all the neighboring countries were present because they want stability for Sudan. And as you know, Sudan is very important for Egypt because of many reasons, historical and political and economic, and it is one of the main countries of the Nile Basin countries. And so for Egypt, it was a crucial step that Sudan took so that stability is there, and the constitutional arrangement will give will form a roadmap for Sudan for the next couple of years in order to regain its stability and put the democratic process into place. So we have Egypt had supported this step, and the Prime Minister of Egypt, Mustafa Madbouli, was there to sign among the signatories. And there had been the presidents of all the neighboring countries, Chad and Central African Republic and Kenya, and Ethiopia was represented by the Prime Minister.
Yes.
So
Madam Ambassador, before we get further into the role that Egypt played in helping or assisting Sudan with its political turmoil, let's talk a bit about the highlights of this constitutional declaration. What are the main highlights and what stands out for the road to democracy in Sudan?
Well, this constitutional arrangement gives space for both the military and the civilian transfer of power, and because of the 30 years that the rule of Bashir, which took so long, there had been a lot to be reformed. So the constitutional arrangement it sets the space for parliamentary election and for presidential election, and it also gives the space for civilian civilian candidates to be elected, like they become candidates for elections for presidency. It also puts places the stage to reform and for economic reform, and also to use all the economic resources and the natural resources that Sudan has, especially that during the past 3 months there has been a lot of violence, and this cannot happen. I mean, cannot lead to stability. So the deal that has been reached between the Transitional Military Council and the opposition was one step towards a permanent solution to solve the crisis or to stop the crisis, and it gives also a second chance to prove that to the people that there is hope, and there are efforts to re-establish trust and credibility, and to erase all the negative impacts of the previous regime.
Indeed. Now, the head of the political committee at the ruling Sudanese Transitional Military Council, Yasser Al-Attah, praised Egypt's role in solving the Sudanese political turmoil. How do you see this, and what role specifically over the last few weeks? We've seen Egypt hosting several delegations, trying to further their talks and develop further agreements between the different sides. Let's talk a bit about the role, the specific role that Egypt played in reaching this political solution.
Egypt, as I said, it has a lot of history, and of course, if it is from our interest and benefit as a country in the Nile Basin country, and a very, very important country to Egypt, we have to really interfere, not interfere negatively, but interfere positively,
yes,
in order to help the Sudanese people to stabilize their relations. So there has been a lot of high-level talks and
yes,
high-level statements from both governments, and of course Egypt has offered a lot of economic and training of the military and of the police, so that it can help in sealing the borders against illegal trafficking and against human trafficking, because Sudan now needs the help of all the neighbors, and Egypt is the main neighbor, and Egypt has signed, now has been one of the co-signatories of the constitutional arrangement. That means that Egypt is one of the countries that are helping Sudan in order to establish the stability and to regain its
position. Yes.
Yes.
Now, Madam Ambassador, the Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said during his speech that Egypt will always support the Sudanese brothers, stressing that the upcoming period will witness a lot of enhancement at all levels of cooperation between the two countries. How do you see this as coming into effect in the upcoming stage?
We have to really look at very close bilateral relations in the field of security, in the field of political, economic, and social, in order to stop the violence, and in order to give a chance to the roadmap to take place, like for instance the steps that were taken to really have credibility. So Egypt is helping Sudan in order to achieve the roadmap, and also to have the international support. For instance, many countries whether it is in the west or in the east. They want to know, and they think that Egypt is the stabilizing factor in the region. So
Yes.
Egypt is giving the support to Sudan because this will give more international support to Sudan from other countries in the world.
Also, Egypt has contributed to the economic projects in Sudan, especially recently in the field of electricity. How important, Madam Ambassador, is this economic collaboration for the country to get back, as you said, on its feet and back to its position in Africa?
In order for Sudan is a very rich country from the agricultural and the human resources, so they have to really use all the natural resources that they have in order to reach a higher level of standard of living for the population of Sudan, the Sudanese people. And of course, there had been a lot of turmoil in Darfur and in other regions in Sudan. So first of all, they have to have control over all the areas where there had been turmoil, and Egypt can help in that. The second thing is that they have to exploit all the natural resources in a way that they will have agricultural products and industrial products to be able to export them to other countries so that they can have more income to generating. So they have to use their own natural resources first.
Yes.
And many investment opportunities could be there for Egyptians who want to invest in Sudan. And also there could be international investments, and Egypt could be supporting, guaranteeing in the banks, and because we have a more flexible and more international banking system. So Egypt can help the Sudanese economy to prosper by giving guarantees to international banks and increasing the international investments.
Yes. Madam Ambassador, let me ask you, you mentioned, of course, Egypt's weight when it comes to international investors. And how about its role as the head of the African Union? How can it use this leadership of the African Union to sway further investment opportunities now that there's more political stability in Sudan?
Well, as you know, that after al-Bashir was toppled, then of course the African Union had to stop the membership for to just wait and see until the new government is formed. So now Egypt, because of its presidency, can help that Sudan could regain its membership again, and then now it's going to have more stability, and so Egypt could help the Sudan as an Arab country in the Arab League and also in the African Union as an African nation. So
Indeed.
it is from both sides that Egypt can help during its presidency of the African Union.
Indeed. Ambassador Saada, I also wanted to ask you about the importance now of Sudan's security and stability. What does this also mean for South Sudan? The importance of this political stability and how it can better the ties between the two countries.
During the signing, the president of South Sudan was present.
There. Yes.
And he was, Salva Kiir was very much interested in the stability of Sudan, because South Sudan is its stability is also built on the stability of Sudan. So this is one of the countries that was once part of Sudan. So the Southern Sudan has to really be very close to Sudan during this period because of the borders and because of it's a daily immigration from South Sudan to Sudan, and there had been a lot of political problems in South Sudan that spilled over the Sudan. The problems that South Sudan is facing is also spilling over Sudan. So if Sudan is not able to face all these problems of South Sudan, then it's going to be really a trouble, big trouble. So that's why the South Sudan government is reaching out to Sudan to have more of more support to its economic problems and political problems, because it is one of the crucial countries for its survival.
Indeed. Madam Ambassador Suad Shalabi, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister, I'd like to thank you very much, Your Excellency, for joining us and for your insight on today's edition of Africa Today. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up today's episode. You're in the company of Andrew Meher. Many thanks for watching.